Yeah, this love story is built to last. Josh Allen and
Man,
Stephon Diggs now locked up together through 2028. Diggs had 2 years left, so now they got him under control in Buffalo for another 6 years. Man, oh man, Charles Robinson, does it pay to be a stud wide receiver in the NFL these days? Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, hell, you ain't got to be a stud. You could be Christian Kirk and be a free agent and get broken off something real proper like when it comes to this wide receiver market. So tell us from what you know, your sources. Who's next? Is it AJ Brown? Is it Debo Samuel? Like, who's about to get this bag at the wide receiver position next? And how big is it going to be?
Cooper Kupp, has to be done. The Rams are, even though he's got a few years left on his deal, he's way under the market at this stage. I think they know that they have to get something done with him after they finish off Aaron Donald's restructure. I think AJ Brown, it was interesting when I was at the owners meetings, I heard, John Robinson, we're kind of standing in the lobby there, and John Robinson's coming through and he stops, and obviously the Titans general manager, and first thing he said is, man, wide receiver's making a lot of money now. So I think he knows he's got to pay AJ Brown. DK Metcalf is coming. All these guys.
Let me ask you
all these guys.
He's coming, but for whom? Because we were talking yesterday. I think Seattle should just blow it all the way up. I think they should blow into the cart. They should blow into the cartridge, put it in halfway and slam it down, unplug the Nintendo, and hard reset this thing and move him. But the reports are that they're not even listening to offers for DK Metcalf. If they're not, why not?
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. And I saw the report about the Jets, them not even being willing to listen to the Jets' 10th overall pick for DK Metcalf. I don't know if that's true or not, to be honest with you. I kind of I got to check on that. Let me put it that way. I had somebody tell me today that might not be true. I think, with Seattle, it all depends on what's happening with the quarterback, right? Do you have your eye on a young guy that you're going to draft? And are you saying we want DK to be, his primary, we want him to be there for this guy. And it's going to be important to us that they grow together because DK is still a young guy. I mean, you're talking about mid-20s. He's got plenty of window left in front of him. But if you don't have, if you're not set on a quarterback in the first round in that top 10 there, it's hard to envision paying DK Metcalf in the mid-20s, per season APY, $24-25 million a year, and not have a quarterback there for him to work with. So I'm with you. I think hard reset makes sense if the draft asset you're being offered is a top 10 type of a pick, and you don't have a quarterback. Now, that said, we'll see. They're waiting to see what happens with Baker Mayfield. There's no question about that. And they're kicking tires on every single one of the quarterbacks. I think that the two teams that will absolutely address quarterback between now and the draft or in the trade market, it's going to be Carolina. Carolina's going to do something at quarterback, and Seattle's going to do something at quarterback as well.
Charles, I need to ask you about Buffalo, and let's stay in Buffalo for a while because I'm intrigued with how they're doing business. And in a lot of ways, they're old school. I mean, they drafted Josh Allen. They were able to draft some of their better players and gotten a lot of production out of them. In some ways, they're new school. Bringing in Von Miller, taking the players that they traded for, and Stephon Diggs, and then signing them to just being very proactive and signing them to these lucrative contracts. It's amazing to watch because it's almost as if, hey, look, we see this moment. There's desperation on our part. There's urgency on our part. We think we can do something. Let's go for it. So let's just talk about Buffalo and that approach.
I think what you're seeing with Buffalo is something that you're going to see from, other teams that are looking at the Rams and they're saying, it's great to. Yeah, but see, the thing is, it only works. It only works. There are a couple of things that have to work here. Number one, you have to draft well enough to get yourself in position to then open the window, right? Which the Buffalo Bills clearly did. And then once you have the window open, spend, like, do your thing, like, maximize. That's kind of, really that's what the Rams did. They drafted well up to a certain point. And then once it was like, okay, we feel like we have this window here, particularly after they traded for Matt Stafford, they're like, just crank it. Let's absolutely maximize this. But you can't do it until you draft your team or you build it to a certain state where then that window's open. I think that's what Buffalo Bills are doing right now. We're seeing them sort of enter into their Rams moon. This is the Rams phase for them, where now they're saying, okay, let's add the pieces around Josh that we need to. Let's make sure everybody gets paid and keep the core together and just start cranking it up for the next few years. And I mean, it makes sense to me. And that's part of why you go and you get Von Miller. It's why you make sure Stephon Diggs is happy. And by the way, Josh Allen's happy. But I don't think this is going to be a one-year thing for the Bills. I think you're going to see the Bills be very aggressive like this the next couple of seasons.
Question about the wide receiver market in general. One more question about that. Because Michael's question kind of got me to thinking about the differences in approach. So now circumstances in each case, have to be factored in. I mean, Devontae Adams wanted to play with Derek Carr for the Raiders. Right. But you have the Packers moving on from Devontae Adams. The Chiefs, most notably, moving on from Tyreek Hill rather than paying him what he wanted in the contract. The Dolphins, more than willing to pay him. The Jets would have been willing to pay him and presumably would be willing to pay somebody like a DK Metcalf. Correct me if I'm wrong, but once again this year, wide receiver, Charles, is one of the deepest positions in the draft, correct?
Right, yeah. Yep.
As it typically is. And you have a lot of people, it used to be wide receivers didn't come in and hit the ground running. Now it seems to be a position where a lot of guys, and not just first-round guys, but second-round guys in particular, are able to come in and make an immediate impact. I say all that to ask this. Like, why are certain teams willing to break the bank for wide receivers when, even the elite ones, when they can, that production can oftentimes be replaced rather quickly and much cheaper?
Man, I wish I could answer that because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. Like, the way that the position, I think one of the factors that you have to consider is you literally had the two very best wide receivers in the NFL aside from Cooper Kupp. Because I think there are three guys, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp. Those are your ones, okay? 1A, 1B, 1C. Interchange them. They're all on this. They're on that same tier. Well, you had those guys, two of those guys get traded, and then, you don't trade for a player nowadays without having a contract set up for him, okay? And so the trades motivated the teams to put the contract on the table, okay? And then once that contract was on the table, you also had Christian Kirk, who basically the Jacksonville Jaguars had to pay to get him into town. They felt like they needed to add to the wide receiver spot. That was the option that they had. They had to overpay for him. So you had a middle tier guy, and then you had the very tippy top, both blowing it out. Now everybody in between those two positions, and there's a lot of guys between those two positions, are now all going to be floated by this. Now, why teams are doing it when, as you said, there's a bumper crop of wide receivers this year. There was last year. There is this year. I get the sense from when you talk to personnel departments, this isn't going to be a short time. This is going to be a while. Like, this wide receiver run that's kind of occurring right now is going to happen for a number of years. And I don't know why teams, I guess the way I looked at it was, okay, let's say Miami, right? Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs thought they were going to get a deal done with him. Okay. They were between 21 and 22 million a season. They were pretty far down the road in negotiations, and they thought they were going to get that thing finished off. So they were going to pay him. They just weren't going to pay him what he's going to make in Miami. Then the Devontae Adams deal goes down, and Drew Rosenhaus says, whoa, wait a minute. We gotta step back here and make sure that we're not taking a sub-market deal here. We got to recalculate. Why Miami would pay not only the draft assets, but also the money. I have a theory that it is to maximize Tua this year to see if Tua Tagovailoa is going to be your quarterback. But I also think it's about a 2023 window of making yourself attractive in case another quarterback comes available. Hey, look at these two guys we have in Jalen Waddle and then obviously Tyreek Hill. Now ask yourself, who comes available in 2023?
Oh,
What
no.
what
Please,
quarterback? What quarterback
Oh,
is
no.
going to be? What quarterback is going to be on the market in 2023 as it stands?
No.
I'm just asking. Like, answer
Don't
that
do it.
question.
I mean,
Oh, it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady. We know. Here it is.
Listen.
Here it is again.
Why not?
Again.
Why not? It makes sense. Or you're just setting up Bryce Young or somebody if you want to trade up for him. You're setting him up for success. But absolutely, Tom Brady looking at that.
But you don't have to prove anything.
Really good.
You don't have to convince him. You don't have to recruit Bryce.
Wednesday.
You got to recruit. You got to recruit
Wednesday.
Thomas Edward Patrick Brady.
Wednesday, April 6th, 2022. I'm just telling you, I think that the Miami Dolphins, it's not just about making the most of, and look, if it works out with Tua, I think you're happy. You go, great, it worked out.
Sure.
But if it doesn't,
you still get Tom Brady.
Even if it does,
you still get Tom Brady.
Well, maybe. I mean, maybe.
Thanks, Tua. Appreciate it. Now you flip him for picks. He just makes his value that much better on the trade market.
I'm just saying, if you're a quarterback, okay, and you're either available or like any of these other off seasons we've had the last 2 years,
forcing
you're thinking about forcing a trade. You're sitting there and you're looking at Miami and you're going, man, those are two like wide receivers that it's not one difference maker. Really, it's two difference makers. I mean, they're two, you're talking about two wideouts that are very similar.
To say nothing of the tight end.
Right. Gesicki, I mean, it is a very stacked offense for a quarterback to step into if it doesn't work out with Tua in 2022.
It'll be, this is not my question. I just want to, observation. Because I don't want to I'm still a little scarred from my Bengals slander. I hit them with all last season. But Miami's got they last won a playoff game when? Like 2000? It's been like 20 years since they won they haven't won a playoff game in 20 years. 20 plus years. And, and they've missed a lot of postseasons over that time. So I just wonder, if you look at Miami making a trade with Kansas City, just historically, I'm inclined to say Kansas City made the right deal. Miami usually screws these things up. We'll see what happens. But here's my question. We're talking about 2023 free agents. Mike Smith asked Mike Tannenbaum this question yesterday. Give me a couple of free agents who are out there, shouldn't be out there, and you say, now wait till they go to the right team. It's gonna be a party for them. Who are some of those free agents that jump out at you? Right
now, guys that are still available?
Yep.
The one I'm kind of interested in is, like Jadeveon Clowney. Like I'm waiting to see what exactly is happening with his situation, because I know, look, the Browns want to have him back. There's no question about that. But I think he has something to offer, and he's still, he had a really good season with the Browns last year, very solid season, and. I think if he can build on that, you're still talking about a guy who could be a Pro Bowl caliber player, given that he does defend the run well when he's playing at his peak. He can pressure the passer. He's probably never going to be, that big sack guy that everybody expected. But defensive ends, or even if you want to try to turn him into a stand-up linebacker, which probably isn't likely. But look, those edge guys are still valuable right now. And I mean, I look at this draft, okay, and some of the sack numbers of guys not named Aiden Hutchinson that are going to be mentioned in the top 10, right? Okay. Weren't
Walker's
great.
Got like 6.
Walker had 6 last year. Kayvon Thibodeau did not, explode the way that teams thought he would this year. And I think economically, you can probably get Jadeveon Clowney for 12, 13 million a season, which is, that's not peanuts. But if you have another defensive end that you can put him across from, like a Myles Garrett type, someone who's productive, I think in the right situation, he could still be a very good player. Now, I still think that situation's Cleveland, but if it's not in Cleveland, there's still, I think he's a quality free agent for somebody still to pick up.
Speaking of edge, so it could very well be Hutchinson, Walker, Thibodeau, top 3. I've seen some chatter, and maybe you've heard it, about maybe even the Lions going quarterback at 2, which would be a shocker. But you mentioned the teams that absolutely will address quarterback in the draft as Carolina and Seattle. You did not mention Pittsburgh at 20, but you also didn't mention the Saints, who, of course, made that notable trade with the Eagles. Some people think it's just to move up to get a tackle, but to give up a future first and future second, albeit in 2024, that second-round pick, just to get an offensive lineman feels that you don't know who's going to be there at that point in the draft, feels a little expensive. What are you hearing about the Saints in particular, but the quarterback prospects, the first-round quarterback prospects in general? So two-part question. Saints, is that a precursor to another move, but also just, Willis and, Pickett and the gang, what you hearing about their buzz?
Well, as far as the Saints are concerned, it makes sense from the investment, right? Like if you're investing, as you said, a future first, a future second, you're giving up enough that typically you're eyeing a quarterback. You're maybe eyeing another move if you feel like you need to move up and get a quarterback. Now, I talked to someone who was kind of in the middle of that trade, and I said, what, are they moving and the Saints moving? And I was told, like, no, the intention is to use the 2 first-round picks on players. Like, select 2 players, those 2 picks, not deal them. Now, again, that conversation was a couple days ago. It's early April. I don't know if I believe anything right now. I thought for sure that, you asked me this time last year, I would have told you the 49ers are absolutely taking Mac Jones, number 3 overall. And that I believe that right up until draft day. And that's not what happened. So take it with a grain of salt. As far as the quarterbacks go, when I say Seattle and Carolina are going to address quarterback, that I don't necessarily mean through the draft. I think there's some Baker Mayfield picking there. It's just, how much salary is Cleveland willing to pay for Baker Mayfield next year, and how low of a draft asset are the Browns willing to take to unload Baker? And if that doesn't end up being the route that either of those teams go, I think draft then becomes the route. As far as the quarterbacks go, and I think it's emblematic of this draft, to be honest with you. It is, you get different opinions on guys across the board. Some people really like Willis. Some people really like Pickett. Some people really like I can't believe this. I'm completely blanking here. The Cincinnati kid.
Ritter.
Ritter.
Desmond Ritter.
Desmond Ritter. Actually, I've there have been a couple of teams that really like Ritter a lot, and I would not.
It's okay, man. You got a lot of names and a lot of information circulating under that.
It was right there.
So you're good.
It was right there.
You're forgiven. Okay. You're forgiven.
It was right there. But yeah, I had a couple of teams that really like Ritter a lot. I would not be surprised if he ends up being a first-round pick somewhere in that 20 to 32 range. But I'm just telling you about this draft. It's going to be a wild draft. I truly believe that. When you ask teams about their draft board, so I had an AFC GM tell me, this is really interesting. He said, look, anywhere between 1 and 60, he said, you could be taking a guy off the board at 50 who was in the top 15 of some boards. You could be taking a guy off at 15 that was 50 to 60 on some boards. That's how kind of crazy this draft is. It's a lot of it has to do with like fit. What do you think about the character of the guy? Does he respond to the type of coaching you have? It's not just skill set now. It's a number of different things. And it's just, from what I've heard, the top 60, and you can throw any position that would be drafted inside that top 60. So if it's a heavy, wide receiver draft, there's going to be a lot of interchangeables amongst all these different players. So I don't think quarterback's any different. It's Mike, you mentioned the defensive ends, Hutchinson, Thibodeau, Walker. There's the same AFC GM told me, I'm telling you right now, he's like, I know for a fact there's a team that has Hutchinson beyond 20 on their draft board.
What?
Yeah, outside the top
20.
Outside the top 20 on their board, and that's pretty remarkable. But it speaks to, I think, just the fact that there's no hammerlock. We've now we're all saying, well, it's Hutchinson now. Like when this all started, remember it was Hutchinson, but then it was like, no, it's going to be Evan Neal.
Right.
No, it's going to be Ike Ekwonu. Yeah. You know, and now we're back to Hutchinson again. And it's not this. The same GM said to me, go back and look at the 2021 draft. He said, look at the top 15 picks. And he's like, I don't know how you feel about the quarterbacks. And obviously there's a couple quarterbacks still have to prove themselves in that top 15. He said, but when you look at that top 15, that could be one of the best top 15s we've seen in a really long time. He said, because when I look at that top 15 now after that first year, it looks like they're all dudes. It looks like they're all going to be players on the NFL level. Like there's not going to be a bust in that top 15. He said, that's pretty miraculous. And he said, this year, complete opposite. He was like, it's going to be.
Ooh, I like it.
It's going to be like the Eric Fisher draft.
I like the craziness of it. So this is my last one for you is this. Hey, when's the last time somebody from Cincinnati was the number 1 overall pick? Could it be Sauce Gardner? I keep seeing that name come up. Before it was like mid-first, then it was top 10. I saw one mock draft. I had him 3. Are we that crazy or no? It's not that crazy.
I mean, I don't know. I still think it's hard to pick a cornerback 1 is just, I mean, you have to be like Charles Woodson. I mean, you got to be like somebody who's just coming out was just unbelievable. Not that he's not, but I still think teams are leaning into this, how the salary structure works, which is it's really hard to get, defensive ends. It's really hard to get left tackle. It's really hard to get quarterbacks. I still think that's the number 1 pick is it's a 3-position pick typically. And if it's not, if you're really trying to put a cornerback there 1, again, is it Charles Woodson? Like, are we talking about that kind of a player, that kind of impact in college? And, or is it just, it's a really weak draft? I still think it's probably going to be Hutchinson or one of the tackles just because that's what the draft slot typically dictates. And by the way, number 1 pick makes money. Like, people should look. Number 1 pick makes money. Like, that's a decently paid position.
I'll just say, Charles and Mike, I know it was a different era, but once upon a time, Bill Belichick took a safety number 2 overall. So, it can be done. Not today, huh? Not in today's NFL.
I mean, I guess look, if there's a draft that's gonna have it happen, it would be this draft. Like I said, I mean, it's just because there's so many kind of unknowns, and the board sounds like these boards are all so dramatically different from one team to the next. And the fact there's no dominant quarterback, the fact that people have reasons to dislike the tackles, the fact that, I guess Aiden Hutchinson's probably the one player. Have we really heard any slander with him? I feel like we really haven't. Like, he's probably the one guy where I'm like, well, I haven't heard a ton of negatives about him. Like, so does that just default and make him the top pick this year? Yeah. I don't know what to think. Like, you tell me, is this the way this draft like setting up? Is this like exciting or is this like a dud? Like, what's it going to be? Exciting. I mean, is it exciting? Because we don't know. Because it's kind of crazy.
Draft and dud don't go in the same sentence with me personally.
Okay.
But that's
not me either. I love it.
I'll draft anything off the field. Want to get to you, Charles. Led by Letitia James, Attorney General of New York, 6 state attorneys general have grave concerns about reports of a workplace culture within the NFL that is overtly hostile to women in particular. And therefore they sent a letter to Roger Goodell late Tuesday outlining their concerns, calling these allegations entirely unacceptable and potentially unlawful. The full weight of our authority to investigate and prosecute allegations of harassment, discrimination, or retaliation by employers throughout our states, including the National Football League, they referred to in the letter. It's funny, I was thinking, we were talking about the Dolphins, how we've gone from the Dolphins being sued for discrimination to actually being able to talk about the Dolphins on the field. Shows you how much money Stephen Ross has thrown at his problem of tanking allegations, but that's not what we're talking about here. How much does this have the league's attention, this letter from 6 attorneys general led by New York's Letitia James?
I mean, it has their attention because it wasn't that long ago Jerry Richardson was essentially forced to sell his team, okay? And that was a wide array of, toxic things that were going on in the workplace. And it wasn't just, gender. I mean, there was, race related allegations. There was gender related allegations. There were a number of different things. Plus there were a whole heck of a lot of NDAs were signed. They come out of that, investigation and are basically advised like, hey, one of the things you should probably stop doing is allowing teams to sign NDAs to cover up, things that are happening inside your organization as it pertains to the workplace environment. So you have that. Then you have the whole Washington situation that's bad enough that it like Congress is now involved. And they're now talking about, hey, is there two sets of books like for Washington, the franchise? And now we talk about revenue. We're talking about all these other things. That's very concerning to the NFL. And then there's the Dallas Cowboys and this, payment of $2.4 million related to, allegations that came from members of the cheerleading squad. Okay. It's a huge deal. I mean, the NFL, I think they're realizing, particularly with seeing what's going on with Washington, when this gets to Congress, you don't know what else is now going to get dug up. And you have to ask yourself, if you're the NFL, like, is this a Washington problem? Is it a Dallas problem? Was it a Carolina problem? Or is it like an institutional NFL problem where, we've always talked about as being like the old boys network and all this stuff and the league
I'll
being
pick C. It's institution. I'll pick that
right.
one.
It's probably
some of these allegations is disturbing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It is. I mean, don't you think though? I mean, we've all covered the league, right? I mean, there are things that, you and I heard, all three of us heard in the last like 20 years that I now think about those conversations. The fact that people even said some of the things out loud amongst a group of reporters now is off the record. But now I'm like, oh my God, I can't even imagine. Like if a GM said some of the things I heard GMs say 15 years ago, I'd be like, oh, this dude he's going to be fired tomorrow. Like there's no way.
Well, a lot of these concerns from these attorneys general, I mean, the New York Times had 30 former employees describing, this is in February, describing experience of demoralizing culture that included female staff members saying they had been forced to watch a video showing Ray Rice knocking out his then unconscious fiance, being asked to publicly declare if they had been victims of domestic violence, being marginalized or pushed out of their jobs. They questioned the NFL's handling of sexual harassment issues. It's just incredible that the league has these battles, internal battles, that there are wars being waged on multiple fronts. Sexism, misogyny on one hand, racism and discrimination on the basis of race on the other. Not to mention tanking allegations and as you talked about, the Commanders when it comes to withholding potential revenue. Meanwhile, last thing I want to get with you before we let you go, is there's another development in the Deshaun Watson case. Talking about poor optics, he now has to detail any sexual history with other massage therapists on the orders of a judge in Texas, as they try to establish some kind of a pattern of behavior or even expectation when it comes to the 22 massage therapists who have alleged sexual assault and are suing him civilly. How significant is that when it comes to the NFL's investigation and the expected discipline?
Assault and misconduct. Now that he seems to have assault and or misconduct. I just want to put that in there because they're not all just to
right. It's an array, right? There's allegations of sexual assault, sexual misconduct.
Now that he's seemingly avoided criminal trouble, right? The civil cases are ongoing. The league will certainly have its say. What does this mean?
He certainly avoided through two grand juries. Okay, it doesn't mean that other future grand look, this could still develop down the line that he's there's still potential criminal issues later. We don't know that. But as far as this is concerned, I think what was interesting about it is it showcases a little bit of a legal misstep here, okay? Because in the process of this thing, when it started out, it was Deshaun Watson's legal camp that said, here are these affidavits from these 20-plus massage therapists who say, they stand behind it, hey, had no problems, none of these issues. Well, now on the backside of it, the fact that he's going to be forced to answer, by the way, under oath, whether or not he had a sexual relationship with any of these women who signed these affidavits supporting him. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big deal if the plaintiff's attorneys can sit there and say, you know what, okay, here now he's admitting. Now let's see if that actually happens. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but if he does, in fact, have to testify to the fact that he had relationships with any of these other women, you are going to have a plaintiff's attorney that says this is a pattern. Clearly, this is a pattern of behavior by him, and now it overlaps not just the plaintiffs, but also women who signed affidavits in support of him. This straddles two different groups, and it proves, at least as far as the plaintiff's attorneys are concerned, it proves that he goes into these situations with some sort of expectation or belief that this is normalized behavior. That's not, I mean, look, it's tough. And oh, by the way, it also, it's really two legal missteps, because one, the affidavits that get put out there by Deshaun Watson's defense attorneys first, but then secondly, the revelation by Deshaun Watson's legal camp that there was sexual activity that occurred.
Consensual, yeah.
Right, consensual sex, right. Yeah. So I mean, this is by far not over.
There was the criminal court, there's a civil court, there's of course the court of public opinion, which the Browns now have to continue to navigate, as well as the league. We appreciate you holding court with us, Charles. Very informative segment. And good same stuff, as it is any other time with you, man. A belated happy birthday to you, brother. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.